What's up, everybody? Mike Ivanov here with Mindset Mutiny. Sunday afternoon, 4:28 p.m., and I'm sitting on the ground here on the carpet. Spent a lot of time on the floor, stretching, and I feel comfortable there. Jiu-jitsu is all on the floor, so I feel like I've grown accustomed or feeling happy sitting on the floor because it's such a happy place for me. So there's like a good correlation there to being seated on the floor, and at times that I enjoy myself. So anyway, that's just a small little factoid for today. So I had a long run today. Woke up at 3:30 in the morning. Got some miles in, but I'm going to do a separate podcast on that because it was pretty wild. Out in the middle of the night. I'd say, well, not in the middle of the night, 4 a.m., was running through complete darkness in the woods through a working farm. So a lot of animals. And anyway, I'll get into that another time. So anyway, I'm sitting on the floor here stretching, figured I'd get a podcast going. Got dinner tonight with Devin. She's scheduled some time for us to spend, which I'm so appreciative of, because if she didn't do it, might not get done, and it's very, very important for us. And I have a lot to work on there. So I've just been reflecting and just going over some of the facts of the week. And I was just kind of thinking a little bit further that we're on like the fourth week of the new format for the podcast. And the reason that is the podcast for me was really starting to feel like a burden. It's a lot to do on top of everything else that I'm trying to do. So like the last thing I want to do is sit here and, document my week and what I've done and how that, is going to either improve my next week or take away from the previous week as far as, my mindset and performance goes. So yeah, it's just been a lot. But now I'm trying to kind of, with the new style, I'm trying to reframe that thought and trying to enjoy doing the podcast and look at it as more of a review of the notes of the week, like an after action report. I always talk to people about how important it is to kind of reflect on every day, and then on every week and every month and every year, and then a series of years, so you can just make sure you're optimizing. So yeah, but the problem, with the podcast for me felt like the reason for the new format is I feel like I was trying to just be like everybody else's podcast. Mine's not necessarily like a podcast. Of course, I want to have some more visitors, and when I get that, all worked out, got to get the second microphone working, and it's probably really easy for a 20-year-old kid. Maybe I should ask one. So when I get there, I'd like to have some guests, but I just want to make it about my own thing, just my training week to week, what I'm doing mentally week to week, and maybe a little bit of my life in there. We'll see how that goes. But, I'm more than just the guy who wants to yell at you over the microphone. And to be honest with you, well, yelling at people doesn't really work. It may be temporary, for motivating them, but it's not how it works. The real way to get that to work is to make people think, and when you can provoke that thought on why they should get better, or, you find some angle you can help them with, get in the mind to think is what's really important. For me, when I've been going on this journey, self-improvement and everything else that's cooking, I just find that the more I work on me, the better. But, I always look at people's notes on that, and however they break the journey down. And I try to take a little bit from everybody else's game and try to bring it to one place and try to give everybody the truth on what works. Rather than for me, I was trying to figure out, pretending what I knew, pretending I knew what I was doing. I'd always try to be nah, I think I got it, and being stubborn, and that's my ego. So now when I'm hearing how other people have done it, and I really start to study that, and even for example, this book I'm reading right now, I talked about rest, all the things from these Nobel Prize winners, Winston Churchill, all how these people operated. I've been studying their routines and trying to take things away from that to try to make my routine better. So you come here knowing that like every day I'm studying to try to figure all this out, and I'm looking for every angle. So for me, I just try to save you some time so you can continue on with your own lives and do your thing. But I'm just telling you what I'm discovering, and that's from how I think to what I read, what kind of exercise I'm doing, and what I'm training for, just different stuff like that. And I want to read you a quote, I think, that kind of wraps it up beautifully. And I'll just, give you a second to kind of listen to it. But this is how it reads. Employ your time in improving yourself by other men's writings, so that you shall come easily by what others have labored for. I'm going to read it again. Employ your time in improving yourself by other men's writings, so that you shall come easily by what others have labored for. It's a good one. That's Socrates, 399 BC. That's 2,424 years ago, and it's still relevant today. This is the stuff I'm talking about. I'm not just trying to pretend like I know what I'm doing, because I don't. So I got to find the information from these guys. Guys in the philosophy area. I mean, I'm pretty sure Socrates was the founder of Western psychology. Philosophy. Fuck that up. Anyway, no edits. That's how I do it. And that's something I want to leave you with, right? So let's get started into my week. Pretty happy with how it went. I'm on a new diet, and I got to tell you, there's some real good things happening for me. And I think I'll review kind of the diet kind of summary of like kind of what I'm doing. Look through the macronutrients and stuff, but I want to start with how my week went, because I'm getting back to really ramping it up. I got, probably 20 days out from that 20 miler trail race. And Monday I did jiu-jitsu. That went great, felt great. Tuesday I hit a morning run. It was a 4-mile morning run. And then Wednesday I hit another 7-mile run. And Thursday I woke up, I wanted to do another big run. I woke up, I was like, I got to play it smart. I got to not run. And I went back to bed and got 3 hours more of sleep. I think that was a really important thing for me to do. And I was going to see if I could recover quick and be able to get running Friday, Saturday. Wasn't planning on running Sunday. So it was hard for me to pull up the chute on Thursday. But what I ended up doing was resting, bought some more energy. Friday, I was able to get into the gym and lift, did shoulders. And then I ran 2 miles on the treadmill. And I thought that was going to be the end of my week. I thought I was going to be kind of done there. But, sorry, my throat's dry from that run today. I sucked in some bugs and the allergies are bad. A little stuffy here. I apologize. But Friday, I was happy because I was able to get back in the gym and get a lift in. And I've been really kind of worn out and tired and haven't been recovering enough to really be doing that. So that felt really great. Saturday, I did my thing, went to the farm, had a coffee, relaxed, met up with Devin. We went to the beach, which was awesome. Beautiful weather, gave me some nice time to recover. I think we were there 4 hours maybe. A lot of sun, did some swimming. The water was beautiful, wicked warm. But Sunday had no intention of really doing anything until about halfway through the day. Saturday, I was driving by one of the farms I like to go for trail runs at, and I think it was, maybe like noontime. And I was like, popped into my head like, man, you should go for an early morning run there tomorrow. and only do like 4 miles or whatever. That was the plan. So like when the mind does something like that, it comes up with an idea. I used to, like, a long time ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I used to kind of slap that idea out of my head and, make some excuse as to why I couldn't do that. But in fact, I could do that. Who wants to go to bed early on a Saturday to wake up super early on a Sunday to go for a run when, you probably could be resting, or, nobody know you'd be sleeping in. So when an idea like that pops into my head, that goes for anything, right? I just have to say, yep, okay, we're doing it. So, I instantly jumped on social media and just said, hey, I'm going for a run tomorrow at 3:30 in the morning. I got to get up and I'll be on the trail by 4 is what it is. So I put it out there because I know now I have to do it. Because I know like that evening, come like 6, 7 o'clock, I'm not going to want to go to bed and wake up at 3:30 in the morning to go do this. So I put it out there, and that's kind of the way that I hack my way towards some of these things, right? Where I'll put it on social media, and if I say it, I'm going to do it. And it works the same in my, in my inner circle. I tell people I'm going to do things, and because I say it, I'm going to do it. And that's one way to kind of help you move forward into that fear, because if you're a man of your word or woman of your word, which you should be, you'll use it to motivate yourself and to move yourself forward by telling others where you want to go. So also they'll hold you accountable to it. So I put it out there, and I'll tell you, that feeling came. I was on the beach at like 5:30, 6 o'clock. We went for a late, Devin packed up like a nice little picnic. It was great. But we got there early enough to be able to get some real good sun and for me to go swimming. So had a great evening, kind of relaxing, recovering. But I get back to the house and I'm like, man, I got to go to bed. Like, I start getting that whiny little bitch feeling rolling in, start feeling bad for myself. And then I feel like, I don't have to do it. I won't do it. But, oh shit, no, I told people I had to do it. I just, no one will ask me, right? I'm like, fuck that, bro. Let's go to bed. So the whole time I've always wanted to do it. I was prepared to go to bed, but the mind is just sitting there like talking. And, luckily now for me, I can pick up on that, whereas back in the day I couldn't. So I can pick up on that, and I can just kind of handle it the way I need to handle it. And that's just keep your feet moving, right? So kept my feet moving. I got in bed and tried to settle down for a little bit of rest. I couldn't fall asleep right away. I was kind of like excited, but a little nervous, running in the complete darkness underneath the headlamp through the woods and through a working farm where there's animals and whatever kind of was bugging me too, right? So I'm like, this is a stupid idea, but hey, listen, I said I was going to do it. You know what? We can handle it. Whatever comes our way, we're going to handle it, right? That's the whole point of everything I've been doing. So woke up 3:30 this morning, got that run finished. But I'm really excited because I had finished my week thinking that, Saturday and Sunday were going to be complete rest days, and that I wasn't going to be able to do any movement those days because I got jiu-jitsu tomorrow. But because of the diet, I feel like I've been really able to recover faster, and because of the attention I'm really paying towards it, and we'll go over the macros in a little bit here, and we're only 1 week in, but I'm already down 2 pounds, which is really great because we all know that I'm trying to lose some weight to be able to recover faster. And that was suggested to me by a professional. So very important to mention that. So I didn't have any plans to be able to run. And I ended up getting I think I finished up. I said I was going to I'll be all right with 13 or 14 for the week. And then I ended up finishing up at 21 miles this week, total of 3 hours and 34 minutes of running. So 21-mile week, that's awesome. I think that is the best week I've had. That's the best week I've had in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. And that was out of a 0-mile week before. So that's, excuse me, I'm really happy about that. Telling you, man, breathing in all that stuff in the woods is really affects my respiratory system. I don't know if I could do it every day. This run on the street seems to be a little bit better on my lungs, but whatever. So I ended up having a really good week, a 21-mile week. Got jiu-jitsu in once. I want to do it twice a week again. But I got to power it down a little bit, turn the switch down, the dial, right, so that I can get to this race in good condition. What's funny is I've been in denial about it for so long, and I've been talking to Ben Kelly, and he's like, "Dude, you're not going to want to hear my advice." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You gotta relax on the jiu-jitsu before this race." And as usual, Ben is right, and I sometimes have a hard time listening to that. But what's really interesting to mention, right, is Friday night, I got home from work, and I was picking up on some of the symptoms that I had written down last week of like what burnout kind of felt like, or being overtrained or whatnot kind of felt like mentally. So I was experiencing some of those things. I was having some brain fog. I was having some hard time listening. Devin was trying to talk to me, and I was having a real hard time listening, and I could just pick up on that. I wasn't able to really kind of digest what she was saying. It's just kind of making me anxious. So I was kind of anxious last night, and I said, you know what, I know what this is, and that's why I pulled the chute on Saturday and said I need to recover. So what's cool about this week is I've paid a lot of attention to training energy levels and absolutely like cranking the diet in tight. Like I'm talking tracking every bit of food with a scale, and even like logging Altoids. That's how I know you're locked in, right? When you're logging your Altoids, that's when your diet is locked the fuck in. And I got down to 200 pounds. It was like May 1st. And I've been like probably on a month of like weighing my food really tight like I am now. And then I went to Mexico. Was it May or March? I can't remember. Hold on. Let me check. When I was at my lowest, I just want to be positive here. Just give me a second. Let me pull up the weight app here and check it out. So I got everything tracked for, let's see, today's going to be 2,181 days I've been tracking my food. But there's tight tracking and loose tracking, right? Like, so loose tracking would be like, hey, I'm estimating like what I'm eating. I'm tracking every bit of food I'm eating. Just kind of going by approximations by eye, like blah, 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 which is, some people are like, that's miserable. I would never want to do that. Well, that's like beginner level shit, like I was doing that. I'll get you the lowest body weight. Sorry, I always get distracted here. Okay, I got down to 199.3. I'm 205 right now. 199.3 April 25th. And then I started climbing back up to 205. Had a high weight of 206. Yeah, so I'm playing with 5 pounds here of fluctuation because I didn't really lock in as tight as I needed to. So I ended up building my weight up from 200 to 205. But when I was at 200, I remember really tracking tight, right? So that was like weighing my food, tracking all sorts of any little ancillary item, any little drink, anything that goes in the body that's not water was getting tracked down to the gram, every single thing. And that's where I'm at right now. And that's, I flipped that switch on Monday started. Now I'm down 2 pounds. I got energy levels through the roof. Very, very interesting. There's a lot going on in my body right now. I'm fucking jacked the fuck up, which is really great and I'm excited about. Whole new level of energy while still being able to train pretty hard. Sitting here today, a long week after a long week, 20 miles in the bank, like I feel pretty good mentally as well. So body and mind feels good. So I'm excited for jiu-jitsu tomorrow, but let's go over like where I could have improved on my diet. I got my journal here. I spent some time yesterday morning kind of analyzing my diet for the week and how I did well and what I didn't do well at. So total calories was 2,456. My average protein was 156 grams. That was my weekly average. That's not great. In fact, it should be 1 gram per pound of body weight. I weigh 205. And then I'm beating the crap out of my body. So I need to really raise that protein number. So I'll have to find a solution. I have a solution a little bit further down here that I kind of wrote down. So as a way to bring the protein number up, and I'll share that with you in a minute. Actually, let me just look down here. Okay, so I ended up figuring out that I could add more tuna and more sardines and have hard-boiled eggs on hand. So if you have hard-boiled eggs on hand, you like when you're hungry, you can just go to the fridge and get something good as opposed to like having like whole separate meals, right? So I can raise my protein level by keeping hard-boiled eggs on hand. And I did start adding like sardines to my salad. My wife will make a great salad, and I'll add some sardines to it to kind of get that extra protein in that fish. It's pretty healthy. So 206 grams of carbs. So it's 156 grams of protein, which is 32%, and 206 grams of carbs, which is 36. I think I'm going to try to get up past 40. I'd like to see like 250 carbs. But I felt good this week on this diet. So that's kind of interesting to think about. So I felt pretty good. All right, what else we got here? We'll just keep an eye on the time. 83 fats, 30%. So 156 grams of protein, 206 grams of carbs, 83 fats. Need to have 100 fats. All right, so I got to come up a little bit. So I need to eat a little bit more carbs, a little bit more protein, and more fat. A lot more protein, actually. Probably 40 grams is what I'd be looking for. Anyway, all in all, good week. Feel great. Couldn't be happier. So I like reporting those kind of those informational items as last week or the week before, it wasn't like things weren't going good, right? So you can see how quick you can turn something around when you like pay deep attention to it, right? I was in bed 3 weeks ago. I was in bed, smoked, totally out of gas, and I've addressed a few things. Diet, been more strategic about my rest, and really, really paying a lot of attention to how I'm feeling. So really, really happy with the progression. And it's because I've been studying. I've been seeing what works. I've been journaling. I've been writing down every detail. I was just reading out of my journal. These are like notes I took throughout the day. Time where I'm like literally looking back and reflecting on the math of what's going on. I'm not like, I'm on a diet and like, fucking around looking and happily estimating, right? Because you're always off. That's the problem. You're always off. And then you end up eating like the end of the week, 2,000 more calories, 3,000 more calories than you should have because you weren't tracking right. And that's a full day of eating pretty much. And if you're not really cranking the exercise, you're gonna, it's not going to go well, right? So that's why it's so important. So to keep an eye on your maintenance calories. So for me, really right now, I'm eating a lot of ground beef, eggs, sardines, do a lot of like romaine salads. I'll add blue cheese onto the ground beef, and it's a really good blue cheese from like a cheese specialist up there in Wenham, Vin Fromage. I tell you, I go in there and they have some of the best blue cheese, $30, $40 a pound, just top quality. It's always rotating and super local stuff. Like I had a mocha blue cheese from there, and it literally had like mocha coffee on it. Like it was delicious. And I've been killing the pickled onions, so I'll make my own. I love doing it. I end up adding a little bit of white vinegar, a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Instead of sugar, like from like the bag, I end up adding Vermont maple syrup. Super, super awesome addition. And then I add a little bit of water and some spices. I like some garlic spice, maybe some chives, a little bit of Kalima sea salt. And just take note, you got to look up Kalima sea salt. It will change your life. Like if you go on like a salt journey, which I have over the last 5 years, you like start with Himalayan and you're like, well, some people start with like Morton's, right? Which is, you're killing yourself, right? If you're using Morton sea salt, like you want to have a problem. It's fucking crazy, right? So the next step up, I think my mom and dad used Morton sea salt. I've still been working on them with the salt. I'll have to check in because they've been weighing all their food and they're fucking crushing it. My mom can do like legit up and down pull-ups, like better than most men. And yeah, it's just great. My dad was down like 60 pounds. I think he's lighter than he was in high school. So I got to talk to them about their salt. But so you start with Morton's, right, as a kid or whatever, and then when you start to have some sense about you, or you can kind of like do your research on salt, you end up with Himalayan. And Himalayan salt for some people is like, oh, this is the best salt you can find. But later on in your journey, you'll find Celtic sea salt, which is like pretty gray and it's kind of wet. It's harvested right off the beaches. I don't want to butcher. I thought maybe England, but you'll have to double check me. Celtic sea salt. But I was like, I got to find the best salt, like all around best. And I came to Kalima sea salt. Absolutely delicious. It's the brightest white. It's hand harvested on the beaches. I believe it's in Mexico. Yes, Mexico. Dos Soles, maybe. And don't quote me. Definitely don't quote me. Kalima sea salt. That's the best salt. So I add that to the pickled onions. Long story short, right? 5 minutes talking about the pickled onions. But then I get some olives at Vin Fromage. They have great ones as well. And they do still have some really good like tuna fillets there. Canned tuna fillets, which is easy to add to a salad. And it's way better than the grocery store crap. So I don't think they get it from the United States. I'd have to check the label on it. But it's definitely not from the United States. It's cool. It's like a cute little wine store with all this like beautiful meat, cheese, artisan goods, great breads. I mean, it's an experience. I've definitely not given Vin Fromage enough time because it's like I walked into France when I walk in that store. It's awesome, and everybody there really cares. They make me feel like they know me, which makes me also feel great. But maybe they do know me. I certainly know they know the passion for my blue cheese because I tell everybody everything. And like my wife says, my diet is my personality sometimes, right? Which is ground beef and blue cheese. Take that however you want. So tomatoes, peppers, sauerkraut, berries, oranges, cucumber. Added rice in. I was really staying away. I was staying away a lot from vegetables, and I was staying a lot away from rice, which is probably why I didn't have a lot of energy because I wasn't consuming enough carbs, which is a little diagnosis that I've kind of made from changing up the diet, kind of paying attention to energy levels. But when I have rice, because of Ethan's plan, I used to do like a cup of rice. He was recommending some 3/4 cup. So I'm implementing that depending on my energy levels. So I'll alter rice size servings, which has been really, really helpful. And rice cakes with yogurt, Greek yogurt, and like pumpkin seeds with honey is another one that's been really helpful. But that's pretty much all I'm eating, and like everything is whole food. So everything is one ingredient food for the most part, and that has been a big thing too that I've changed. So really excited about that. I mean, don't let me get it wrong. Like I was eating some, like as best as you could, but once every Friday after jiu-jitsu, I'd have a half a freschetta frozen gluten-free pizza with pepperoni on it. That was like my one thing, and I've been skipping that. And yes, I'm sad about it, but a whole food diet is the way to go, and that's how I feel my best. I mean, I can just feel my hormone levels are like in a really good place, right? For those men who want to talk about their hormones. So anyway, I'm going to run through my supplement list just because I think that's important for people to know. I've built this supplement list over this last 6 years, and it's been optimized, and I feel that it's like it really is extremely, extremely good. So if you're wondering anything about supplements, what supplements should I take or anything like that, I mean, this has been tested on me for 5 years, and I feel my best with that, with this particular list. And some things have come on and some things have gone off, but I'm just going to run through it right now. This is a great stack. So I'll use protein powder. I go with BPN. I like Nick Bear, so that's kind of a one that I get from him. My creatine, my L-glutamine, and my electrolytes, I all get from like bulk supplement warehouse. I just feel that that's that's some things that you don't have to spend all the money on. And my BCAAs, right? I think I said that. BCAAs, creatine, L-glutamine, all I get from bulk supplement superstore or something like that. If you just Google bulk supplement creatine, they'll come up. They have like an orange label, like a little stick figure in orange. That's their label. And then electrolytes I get from BPN. Again, Nick Bear I think has it dialed in. I really like what he does, and he uses all of his own supplements. Started actually from a dorm room in his college, and he turned it into a mega $1 million business. And he's got an amazing personal brand. Anyway, I also use collagen, and collagen I get from Momentous. It's a good quality company. I've even seen some of the times you go for a supplement and they'll be like, no, we removed it because we didn't think that it actually worked. So I think that's cool. So they kind of like use science to support what they sell versus just selling all sorts of, I guess, snake oil, which is out there. I like that. I remember I was looking to try to buy some sort of supplement that I was using. It was one that went with Fedogia agrestis. That's what it was. It's for testosterone support. And, you know, it was like decent amount of money for supplement. And they're like, we stopped selling it because I would take that, Fedogia, Tonkat Ali, and zinc together. And they're like, we didn't find enough evidence that Fedogia was, you know, good for, you know, what it says it's good for, or for supporting our, you know, supporting our customer. So they felt that customers' money, they weren't getting what they, you know, they weren't getting what they were paying for. So Momentous took it off the shelf. So I like that. So let's get into vitamins. I take a fish oil. I've been doing that for like the last 2 years, and I definitely do notice a difference in joint health. I was back and forth on fish oil for a little while, but if you pay attention, I know this can sound funny, but pay attention to your dosage, and you'll know if you have too much fish oil because your feces will be, feces will be sticky, right? So you notice that. So you can kind of moderate the right dosage based on what your shit looks like. Okay. Listen, man, I got everything down to a science. All right. You know, based off of like that type of thing, that's a good signal to see how your diet is. Cause if you eat enough carbohydrate and then you're taking the fish oil, you won't have an issue. So fish oil, I take D3K2, you can get it together. I take a Momentous Essential Multi, which is their multivitamin. I did some research again on Momentous and that multi, and it's better than most others. So I just don't really mess around. I'm not really brand conscious with anything else. Well, actually, that's a lie. I'm brand conscious with the following: the multivitamin, Tonkat Ali, methyl B12, and the zinc. Momentous. That's what I use. So I got fish oil, D3K2, Momentous Essential Multi, Tonkat Ali, methyl B12, zinc, magnesium citrate, and I just added ashwagandha maybe about a month ago, and seems to be good. Anxiety levels seem to be great, except for when I'm on the verge of burning myself out. Then that's a trigger to me that I need to relax. But yeah, that's what we're doing, man. That's the stack right now, and I just got to tell you, coming off a little rest period was definitely hard to get cranking it back up again, and I just want everybody to know that. I was down for 6 days, 7 days, and maybe a little bit more. And then coming back, I could just feel my body just like not wanting to wind it back up again, but more importantly, my mind was like really just being like stubborn about it, and it was throwing all sorts of doubt at me, like, oh geez, you're not gonna be able to run all those miles when you get back since you've been off, all these things, all these stories we tell ourselves that aren't true. So when I got back to exercising again, even though I was off 6 days, I came back so much stronger, felt way better. And what's great is if you listen to a couple episodes before this, I was doubting the rest. I couldn't find the answer, and I had to go out and I had to ask people, and I had to share where I was struggling to be able to help people fill in with the appropriate information so that I could get back to running at this capacity that I love to run at. And when I say run at, I mean function at. So as you listen to the last 3 episodes, you'll see that there was some doubt in me believing in the process of rest, and I'm really buying into it, and it's showing in my performance, but more so my diet as well, right? Where I engaged with Ethan about my recovery, right? And he mentioned, hey, listen, I could do something for you, write you up a plan to address some of these things to help you recover. And here it is. So like I was having a problem. I talked to some people about my problem I was having. They gave me some advice. I listened to it. I executed on it. And now I'm sitting here, had an amazing week. 20-mile week. Ran at 4 a.m. this morning for, hour and 25 minutes. Like crushing it right now. And I want you guys to be able to share in that. So these are kind of the facts. Energy, right, is generated through exercise. I can feel it, right? When I was resting, I wasn't feeling great. I had to get back to like recovery. But like most of you that are sitting around every day, just go out and exercise. And I mean, it'll change your entire world. It's crazy to actually think about. Just the return on investment I've seen exercising is just so great. I have some science to share on it too. Let me see if I can find it, because I think it's important to back some of this stuff up with science. And I think we're doing it right on time. We're at like 35 minutes. Well, I want to get all the important stuff in, so let me just find it on the computer here. I had something laid out for today. All right, so here's some of the science on like energy being generated through like exercise. There's like 5 things that we can touch on quickly, but it's important to back up. Like I always want to kind of back up what I'm saying and kind of where I'm getting it from. But this is like also what I'm studying, because I'm like, oh my God, I did some things and I feel great this week. Like maybe it's just a coincidence, but then I like start looking, I'm like, all right, there's science to back that up. There's science to back that up. There's science to back that up. And then I'm making sure to take the accurate notes right here in the journal. And then going through, like I just reviewed with you my macros for the week. Like I'm trying to tweak it to be able to find the most energy. So selfishly, I can do whatever I want to do. So we've got 10 minutes here before I got to run out for dinner. We'll talk about mitochondrial activation, right? Exercise stimulates the mitochondria to produce ATP, and it even increases the number of mitochondria in your cells over time. That's what exercise does. So the more mitochondria you have, the better they function and the more energy you can generate on demand. So if you look at it like mitochondria equals more ATP equals more energy. It's pretty cool. So exercise can increase your mitochondrial density, leading to a higher energy availability. So movement generates energy, right? Movement generates energy is how I'm looking at it. When I move and when I exercise, I have more energy. When I'm resting and I'm kind of like, feeling bad for myself, I don't have any energy. And that's the whole problem, right? Where people are like, I can't get moving, I can't get rolling. It's like, just get up and move. Just go for a 20-minute walk. That's it. Go for a 20-minute walk for a week, all right? And do it for 2 weeks, and then for 3 weeks, and then for 4 weeks, and then for 5 weeks. And then think about, hey, maybe I'll go for, let's go see if I can do a 6-mile walk on a weekend or something, right? And just slowly push yourself. And if you're out there running like me or anything else, just continue. Like if I want to really get better, I'm going to do 10 miles a week for 10 weeks, and then I'm going to turn it up, right? So it depends. You just have to do that, and you can slowly generate more energy. So endurance training can actually increase the mitochondrial density by 30 to 40%, and it only takes about 6 to 8 weeks. So your cells literally will build more little power plants inside of you. And with more power plants, you can burn more energy. So I find that to be very interesting. And then I mentioned the hormonal response, right? But there is science there, all right? So movement will trigger a cascade of hormones that wake you up, right? Quote unquote, wake you up. Adrenaline, endorphins, and dopamine. So 20 minutes of moderate exercise can increase dopamine by 50%. And dopamine boosts that focus and the motivation. But this isn't cheap dopamine, right? That doesn't work with swiping on Instagram, right? That dopamine is going to kill you. This is the positive dopamine, 50% increase when you exercise. So your endorphins, right? They spike during intense exercise. And it's proven scientifically, right, that this endorphin hit from exercise scientists will compare it to the effect of morphine on pain perception. That's fucking wild. So you don't need a pill, okay? Your body moving is the pharmacy for what you're dealing with, but you have to move to unlock it, right? Circulation and oxygen delivery. Man, I'm dying over here. Let's talk about VO2 max. Your VO2 max, all right, is your body's ability to use the oxygen. That can improve by 15 to 20% in 3 months. In 3 months, you can improve your body's ability to use oxygen, VO2 max, in 3 months. Imagine if you had $100,000, okay? In 3 months, I'll just give you $20,000. You get a $20,000 return on investment in 3 months. You can do that with your body. Everybody would take that other deal. Why don't you take this deal? Right? Because it's hard. You got to get fucking moving. All right? But 20% return. The more oxygen in the bloodstream, the more efficient the energy production. Okay? And the more efficiently you can produce energy, the less fatigue you deal with. That's why Ethan suggested to me, hey, dude, lose 10 pounds and you can recover faster. Lose 20 pounds and you can recover faster, right? The more efficiently you can use energy, produce energy, the less you're fatigued. All right. Neuroplasticity and mental energy. This is what I really want to touch on. Exercise increases a nootropic factor. It's a brain-derived nootropic factor. Okay, I don't understand what that means. It stands for BDNF, okay? It helps your brain adapt and grow new neural pathways. I always tell people, reading and running, if you research it, builds new neural pathways in the brain. I don't run because I love to run. I run for the effects of what it does for me. Okay, and that's why I read as well. I can literally build new neural pathways in my brain. The more BDNF, you have a better mood, you can think faster, and you have more mental drive. I'd say I have a good amount of BDNF in my fucking brain right now to go out and run at 4 a.m., 7 miles, right? I couldn't always do that. I've been building more of that brain chemical in my mind with exercise and with doing the hard shit. Okay? BDNF will literally spike every time you exercise, and it literally improves every part of your brain function. I can feel it. A single workout can boost BDNF by 200 to 300%. It drives the learning, the memory, and the mental sharpness. I didn't create that line, okay? That's from the book Frontiers in Neuroscience, all right? That BDNF levels can go up 200 to 300% from a single workout. And that helps you learn better, memorize things, and keeps you mentally sharp. Exercise has been proven 20 to 30% in brain function. Exercise improves the cognitive function 20 to 30% immediately post-exercise. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry. Making a couple mistakes today. So literally, working out, exercise, walking, any movement makes you smarter. You get fitter and you get smarter. How would you not want to try it? That's what exercise can do. That's why I'm so passionate about it. And then lastly, it's definitely a use it or lose it type of situation. So your mitochondria will shrink and become less efficient. When you don't move, your hormone response will dull. You'll end up in like this low energy cycle where like inactivity breeds more fatigue. So because you're inactive, you keep feeling more inactive and it just keeps getting worse, right? So you can train your body to be a body that moves a lot, or you can train it to be a body that doesn't move at all right? It's just two different ways of looking at it. When you sit on the couch, that takes work, right? I can't sit on the couch. But for me to sit on the couch, I have to train myself to sit on the couch. But you can go too far into that training and you can never get off the couch. Or you can go the opposite way and just train your body to move, and it just keeps moving and moving and moving. All right. Some people want to find a balance in that. Others want to just see how far they can move or how long they can move for. All right. That's kind of how I look at it. You might want to rewind it, listen to that again, but that's kind of the facts. So just 2 weeks. This is from the Journal of Physiology. Just 2 weeks of physical activity can reduce muscle mitochondrial efficiency by up to 25%. The CDC says that sedentary people are 60% more likely to report daily fatigue compared to active people. If you sit long enough and your body kills off its own engine, you literally are training yourself to be tired. That's the point I'm trying to make. When I talk about sitting on the couch, I say sitting on the couch for me is hard. Resting is hard. Okay. Training is hard. So I could train myself to sit on that couch, never fucking move, and then I would get good at it. I would get good at training myself to stay sedentary. Because that's a whole mindset, all right? But I could also train that same person to move all the time and to chase their goals and to do all these things if I change the way that they think. But you could train either way. You could train somebody to be sedentary. You could train somebody to be active. That's how the mind works. But it's just, what are you going to consume so that mentally, what you eat, what are you going to consume so that the body can be more efficient in producing that energy, so that the training is easier to train it to move. It's more efficient. It's easier to produce more energy. When you can produce more energy, you can do more things. And it starts with sleep, diet, and then the exercise, right? Those are the three pillars. So that's a very important part for me. You have two options. You can train to have the energy, or you can train to be slow, which then means you're training yourself to actually be dumber, which is scary. Because if exercise creates more neural pathways, makes you smarter, makes you more cognitively aware, if you don't do those things, you're allowing yourself to get dumber and get more out of shape. So those are the only things for me. That's it. It's like a 2-for-1 deal. If you exercise, you'll get in better shape and you'll be smarter. So get after it.